exactly 1 week from today, South Africans will head to the polls to elect a new government. And one of the toughest political grounds in the run-up to the elections is, of course, KwaZulu-Natal. Many political parties have set their eyes on gaining support in the province. One party that has held a strong position in KZN, of course, is the Inkatha Freedom Party. What are their predictions for what will come out of the May 29 polls? Our politician this morning is IFP President, Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa. Mr. Hlabisa, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the AM Report.
Good morning, Naledi, the listeners as well as the viewers of this program.
Yeah, you know what, just starting our conversation, of course, we set the seed and we speak about the presence that the IFP has in KwaZulu-Natal. And I think that it is the sort of branding that comes with the Inkatha Freedom Party, that it has a strong presence in KwaZulu-Natal. It is seen to be primarily speaking to the AmaZulu nation, and also that it is heavily linked to the leadership of the late now Mangosuthu Buthelezi. I'm keen to ask you personally if you feel that that has been a difficult sort of a shadow to take off, big shoes that you've needed to fill, particularly to drive the party forward, the following of the leadership of Mangosuthu Buthelezi.
Thank you very much, Naledi. Yourself and all people in the social media who has been witnessing how I have driven the campaign since the launch of our manifesto, and how are the other campaigns led by other members of the NEC throughout South Africa. I have crisscrossed our country in all 9 provinces. The IFP will be contesting election in all 9 provinces in our country, and the response is amazing wherever we go. Of course, KwaZulu-Natal is our base, which we are consolidating and expanding. But our footprint has expanded even to areas where we have never had a big following in the past, which is something different now. Free State, Northwest, Limpopo, Mpumalanga. The response during our provincial launch was amazing. We are looking forward to a great performance of the IFP, because the IFP presents an alternative government from what our people have seen, because we have a track record which people can follow, that when we're in governance in KwaZulu-Natal for 10 years, the province was doing well. In the municipalities where we govern, we are able to bring change. And lastly, the departure of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was a bad thing to happen in our party, but Prince Buthelezi had prepared us. I joined the IFP in 1978 to date, and I have leaders who joined the IFP in its founding in 1975 who are still serving to date. So the IFP is in the capable hands, driving a massive election campaign for 29 May. Yeah,
you talk about how you've made great traction in other provinces outside of just KwaZulu-Natal, but just recently the IFP was heading to court, or at least opening a criminal case with police in the Northwest over your posters being taken down. What's the latest with that matter?
Yes, in Northwest, we had a challenge of people who were taking down our posters. And when I went to launch the manifesto on the 11th of May, the taxis were blocked so that they do not go to our manifesto launch. But those are just isolated instances, because people in one way or another found a way of coming to our manifesto launch, and no one is going to stop them to go to the voting station, because everybody's vote is sacred. Yes, okay. We opened a criminal case, but we're looking forward, because generally, if you look throughout South Africa, the spirit is good of tolerance between political leaders, And that is what we want to promote and concentrate on.
Yeah, I think once we've gone down the route of criminal behavior, I think we better stay on that route for a little bit just to clarify a few things. And if we head back to KwaZulu-Natal, I mean, this is a province where, what is it, since 2011, 150 politicians have been gunned down. That's a lot. And all too often, the party that is the IFP does come up when talks of political killings do take place. And I mean, I think back to the example of the 110th anniversary of King Cetshwayo's death, where there was that rigmarole on stage and the ANC essentially coming out and saying IFP members attacked ANC members at that celebration. How is it that the party deals with these issues of political killings, the conversations that you have within your ranks about them?
Naledi, if you refer to the political killings in KwaZulu-Natal, which is not different to other killings throughout South Africa, but what is noticeable, most of killings in KwaZulu-Natal are intra-party killings. It is not between two political parties. You will find when you follow closely that it was an issue of people fighting over tenders within one organization, because at most it is councillors who have been involved at a larger scale. But having said that, the IFP is making a clarion call. No one is interested in violence. Our people want peace, progress, and a change of government on the 29th of May that will bring a meaningful change. Let me go back to what is an instance when it was the 110th celebration of King Dinuzulu. The ANC up to today have failed to present even the smallest evidence that the people who attacked their members were IFP members. Naledi, people you will say it's IFP because they were wearing IFP regalia, or are the leaders known that they are IFP leaders? Then if you say it's Amabuto, the Zulu warriors, not all of them are IFP members. Up to today, the ANC have not produced even the smallest evidence of such.
But have you as the IFP done those investigations to decipher if any of those people that have been seen to have attacked ANC members are indeed members of the IFP? Have you gone and looked at that matter?
Yes, Naledi, because firstly, I was physically present in that event. Together with Mrs. Cyril Ramaphosa, we made our own investigation. And I made a clarion call to the president of the ANC, who has not responded to my letter even today, requesting him that can we arrest this matter together? Can we get the cooperation of the ANC leaders through their members in terms of identification of the people who attack them, because we want them to be brought to book. Up to now, Naledi, I have not received acknowledgement of my letter, nor a response to my letter. But on our side, we have taken a further step to warn our members that anyone who will be involved in violence, we will ensure that police arrest him and is prosecuted accordingly.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, what we'll do is we'll look at your policy proposals, certainly for the electorate ahead of these all-important elections next week. We're going to take some questions as well from our viewers who have sent them through via WhatsApp. We'll chat a little bit to the IFP leader about how they see the role of the traditional Prime Minister in current day South Africa. That's the number to WhatsApp if you'd like to send in your questions for our politician for the morning, 072-110-5584. We're back in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, we continue our conversation with IFP President Velenkosini Hlabisa as we continue our Ask a Politician feature, taking your questions for him as well. And we'll put some of those up in a moment. But just before the break, I wanted to get your view on, certainly there's been this back and forth around Thulasizwe Buthelezi as the Prime Minister, traditional Prime Minister of the AmaZulu Nation, a member of the Inkatha Freedom Party. I go back to 1994, pre-1994. One of the things that the party wanted to see was the provincial government actually legislating into government the role of traditional Prime Minister. Where are you right now with wanting to pursue that effort?
Naledi, the IFP pre-1994 wanted a clear definition in the constitution, the roles of the king, Amakhosi, the traditional prime minister, and including Izinduna, the whole traditional institution, not only the traditional prime minister. Because in our constitution, in KwaZulu-Natal, and even at a countrywide, there is no clear definition in terms of roles, responsibilities of our kings, Amakhosi, and traditional leaders. They are just spectators, even as members of the local government sphere, which is not good because the traditional institution plays a critical role in our community in terms of stability and dealing with matters that make people have peace in their locality.
Okay, so what is it?
We will pursue that drive both at a national level as well as in KwaZulu-Natal, because in the other provinces, I went to Eastern Cape, Limpopo, lately, Northwest. The kings in those areas, they say they are just spectators. They want a government that will clearly define their roles and responsibilities, and we will pursue that drive both at a national level and at provincial levels.
All right, well, we've got some questions that have come in from our viewers. Let's put one of those up now. Mokhele has sent in a question via WhatsApp that says, Mr. Hlabisa, what are your party's plans towards the currency manipulation by the financial banks as well as the racial profiling of loans and mortgages? Mokhele, I think that's a really good question. Mr. Hlabisa?
The IFP will institute a team of competent people to deal with the manipulation as it was reported widely, so that we bring it to an end, and all banks that are involved in a process that manipulates and also treat people differently on the basis of their culture, of their color, are dealt with accordingly, because people of South Africa should be treated equally, and no financial institution must manipulate the clients who are members or having loans with that particular bank.
Yeah. Okay. Another question coming in from Lebo McQuinn. I think this is a really good one, actually, speaking about your prospects for coalitions post the 29th of May. Dumela Ntate Hlabisa, if the ANC fall under 50% in KZN or national and the EFF has adequate votes, will the IFP compromise for the sake of the country, join hands with the EFF and multi-party charter to form government and remove the ANC and work towards a good governance? So, I suppose the question is the EFF an absolute no-go for the IFP?
The IFP has the good interest for the people of South Africa. That is why we started the process of preparing for a coalition 12 months ago, so that we have a stable government, not what we see at COJ, Ekurhuleni, and other municipalities. The IFP is appealing to the 27.6 million South Africans to all take their protest to the ballot box and remove the government that has failed them.
Yeah, Mr. Hlabisa, I need to step in.
I'm coming to your question.
Yes.
No,
let's
I'm
get
coming
to the question.
Yeah. Yes. The question, the answer therefore is, we are confident we will cross the line. If we don't cross the line as a multi-party charter, there are many people, there are independent candidates, there are many other political parties who are contesting the elections. It will be a difficult thing to go to a coalition with ANC, because our country has been destroyed by the very same ANC. If you want to rebuild, you cannot rebuild with someone who destroyed your country.
The question was about the EFF.
Mr.
Hlabisa, the question was about the EFF.
Naledi,
yes.
Naledi,
yes.
There are many political parties in South Africa. I do not want to apportion others, exclude them. The IFP will consider political parties with whom our manifesto talk to each other in a way of taking South Africa forward. A coalition should not be based on the numbers. If your manifesto differ, it should be based on the commonalities. How are you going to deal with creating a conducive environment of economy for our country to move forward?
Okay.
That is what will determine who to work with and who not to work with.
All right,
especially at a national level. Okay,
so I suppose you're going back and forth about whether or not you're willing to work with the EFF post the 29th of May, but you're quite clear about the fact that you're keen to work with the Democratic Alliance and the multi-party charter, despite John Steenhuisen having called parties such as your own mercenaries for trying to campaign in the Western Cape. How do you explain that?
No. You see, we responded. Political parties can say whatever they like to say during their campaign. And if you decampaign another political party, South Africans are matured now. They will punish you for that. You know what the EFF has said to the IFP. But why are you not quoting it, Naledi? If you pursue me, what is my stance with the EFF? I am not here to say we are going to work with this and not with this one. It is known at a local government in 13 municipalities, we are having working coalition with members of the multi-party charter. That is where we are moving from. And if we don't get a required majority, there are many individuals, independent candidates, and other political parties who will get sufficient numbers to form a working coalition to take our country forward.
So within the multi-party charter, who would be the premier of KZN?
The premiers at a provincial level were taken out in the agreement of the multi-party charter. A leading political party will decide who is the premier from a leading political party. The IFP is campaigning in KwaZulu-Natal to reclaim KwaZulu-Natal, and our premier candidate is Comrade Thamsanqa Ntuli. If we get numbers, he becomes the premier of the province.
But are those conversations taking place within the charter, Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa? And the reason why I ask is because at the moment,
Naledi,
the IFP sits as the official opposition in the ANC, in KZN. Are you concerned that you may very well lose that position?
Naledi, it will help to read documents in the public domain. A document was released in May last year, which said at a provincial level, a leading political party will be the one that puts forward the name of the premier. That is on record, and it was conveyed to public. That is where we stand even now as the multi-party charter. We are not concerned that we might lose our position as an official opposition in KwaZulu-Natal. We've done our groundwork, Naledi. This program started in 2012, when we had 2 municipalities governing. In 2016, we got 13 municipalities. In 2021, we got 29 municipalities. In 2019, we removed the DA as an official opposition, and the IFP became the official opposition. Our next step, after the results of 29 May, we will be leading in KwaZulu-Natal, because we've done our groundwork and we've done our calculation in terms of numbers.
Yeah, are you at all concerned about the growth of a party like the MK party in KwaZulu-Natal? I mean, and certainly in by-elections, they've been able to make quite the mark for themselves.
Yeah, no, we welcomed the Umkhonto weSizwe in the political arena, and we wish them well. We are not concerned as the IFP because Umkhonto weSizwe was clear that they remain ANC, but they want to fix the main ANC under Cyril Ramaphosa. So now, Umkhonto weSizwe are members of the ANC. There is no IFP member who will vote ANC being an IFP member. So we have no stress at all, because as I'm saying, Naledi, if you want to win election, you work on time. We have invested in this plan from 2012, and it is delivering results. And we're looking forward to 29 May, that the 14 million dormant voters should stand up and take their protest to the ballot box and remove a government that has failed them. The IFP is ready to serve them.
Okay, let's take more questions from our viewers. This one coming in, and we're going to put it up on the screen quickly. Nombeko Mkunu says, Mr. Hlabisa, how are you going to stop the killing in the hostel of Kwamashu? Most of the people living there are IFP, and they've painted Kwamashu Township as a bad place. Your response?
Macengwane, you must be fair. It is not only Kwamashu hostel with many killings. Hostels in Durban are killing hotspots. What the IFP will do, we will build police stations closer to all the hotspots around eThekwini and throughout KwaZulu-Natal. If funds do not permit, we will have to place mobile police station 24/7 with sufficient manpower. We will arrest people who are perpetrators. Once arrested, we will ensure those people are prosecuted speedily. When found guilty, give them harsh sentence to send a message that crime does not play. The IFP will be tough on crime and criminals.
You know, over the past few weeks, we've been looking closely at the derelict condition of eThekwini, but what many used to consider the playground of South Africa. But you've got so many issues right now. Mounds of refuse simply uncollected. Municipal workers going on strike. You've got dried taps, and then even the very quality of water being questioned when the taps do produce something. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, if you have a bad government, things will be as bad as you have said, Naledi. The IFP, I took my campaign when I was campaigning at Lamontville in the transit camp. I found a smell in the center of the residence. I couldn't withstand it even for 5 minutes. I said to people, I'm not going to campaign. I'm going to get a TLB and a truck to remove this garbage. What you see in Durban is a reflection of what you find when you have a bad government. People are living in the transit camp for more than 15 years. Life is not conducive there. That is what you get when at a provincial level you have a bad government. The IFP will eradicate transit camps. We will ensure that services are maintained. At eThekwini, we will consider the dissolution of the eThekwini municipality because it's a failure. Workers are protesting, complaining every day. People don't get water for over a period of a month. Water tankers. Corruption is worse. Now, all we need to do there, people of eThekwini have protested enough. On the 29th May, take your protest to the ballot box, remove people who have failed you, vote to the IFP. Immediately, once you become a government, we will consider dissolving that municipality and allow people to elect fresh councillors who will serve them with dignity.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things that stands out about this particular election is we're able to go into it knowing who is funding the political parties that are on that ballot paper. The declaration from the IFP is that they, as part of the donations that you've received, is a 10 million rand from Nikki and Ernest Oppenheimer. I mean, talk to me about how that conversation came about, and did that 10 million rand donation come with any conditions?
All political parties declared the donations. These donations are given without any condition. Let me draw to your attention, Naledi. The IFP and the Oppenheimer family has a long history. The Mangosuthu University of Technology was a donation from Oppenheimer, Harry Oppenheimer, to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. That Mangosuthu University of Technology has produced thousands of graduates throughout South Africa. There was no condition given except to assist black people. So the donation we got was that they are enabling the IFP to campaign so that its policies can get an opportunity to shape the life of the people of South Africa, like all other people who got donations. And you know, Naledi, I have read some comments in other social media where people behave as if it is only the IFP that got donations, yet it's many political parties who got donation from various sources. Whether they had condition from those sources, I don't know. I'm saying a practical example, Mangosuthu University of Technology, there was no condition when we received the donation to build that academic institution. It is producing people of South Africa throughout the 9 provinces.
Yeah, you know, I want to go back to the issue of violence a little bit, because it certainly is one that you can't ignore. 173 voting stations in KZN that law enforcement has essentially flagged as high risk. And obviously they're going to be watching KZN very, very closely. Do you believe that going into this election, unlike going into the election 30 years ago, that the lesson has been learned certainly by the IFP on the importance of peace and stability? And if you are at all concerned that 30 years later, or more than 30 years later, the IFP has not been able to dust off the legacy of the pre-1994 violence between the party and the ANC?
Yeah, the legacy of violence between ANC and IFP, especially prior 1994 election, remains a responsibility of the 2 organizations. I wrote a letter last year requesting the president of the ANC that let us close the chapter of violence, because the IFP, out of 20,000 people who died, lost 12,000 people. The 12,000 IFP members were not killed by IFP, but were killed by ANC members, while ANC lost 8,000. So the 2 political parties have a responsibility to close the bad legacy of violence prior 1994. Coming to these elections, the state must provide sufficient manpower. The intelligence must not sleep on duty. They must know which voting stations have a potential of violence, so that enough manpower is deployed to ensure that people are given a chance to elect freely people who would lead them. From the IFP, I'm making a clarion call to all leaders of political parties. Let us refrain from reckless speaking or irresponsible language of using terms that might incite people to resort to violence. Let us call all our members that violence, no one needs violence now. People of South Africa want to proceed as a country. They want to rebuild South Africa. They want a new government after 29 May that will refocus our direction as a country, press a restart button, deal with unemployment of our youth, deal with crime that is affecting our women, and completely load shedding that is coming back in June. That is what the people of South Africa want, not violence.
All right, and I think that's a really great place for us to leave it. Thank you so much for speaking to us. President of the Inkatha Freedom Party, Velenkosini Hlabisa.